now I'm going to turn these two off. I'm going to actually turn them back on. I'm going to make sure that I'm on that background layer, and I'm going to, select. So I have to be on my quick select tool. I'm going to select the next darkest area, and I'm going to say similar again. And you can see that it's selecting some other areas. So now I'm going to flip those two colors, and I'm going to go up here and I'm going to select another brighter color than what I had before. I need to make sure that I make a new layer, and I'm going to go lighter purple. And I'm going to do edit, and I'm going to do a fill with that foreground color, and it's going to fill the next image or the next part of the image for me, and then I'm going to select deselect. Now, one thing that you do need to be aware of is that lighter purple actually is going to probably need to go up a little bit higher. We'll have to just see which way those images look the best. And I do need the darkest purple on top. And you can actually see there's 3 versions of purple if I look really closely right here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back on that background copy again, and I'm going to select this next lightest gray, and I'm going to say select similar again. And hopefully you notice how it's getting less and less of that little sparkly area, and it's because I'm just selecting what is that next lightest area. So I'm going to say OK to that color selection. I'm going to make sure that I make another new layer, and I'm going to say lighter purple. Oh, I already have a lighter purple 2 because I already have one that says lighter purple. So I just labeled it a little bit differently just so that I can see what I'm trying to do. I'm going to fill with that foreground color again. And then I'm going to deselect to see if I can see it. And it looks pretty much like I've got 3 different areas there. And actually I'm going to turn this on and off so that I can for sure see that I've got 3 or 4 different colors. I am going to leave the white there, and then I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn these layers off, and I'm also actually I have to turn them on for a moment, and here's why. In order to lock my layers, I have to make sure that I actually have the layers on when I lock them. So I'm going to lock all those other layers. I'm going to make another copy of the original photograph. And what I'm going to do is turn the colors off for a moment so that I'm going to try to get like a darker area over here. And what I could do is if I zoom in, and I'm just using the command and the plus and minus keys to do that. So if I zoom in here, it took way too much. So let's see, what can I do here? If I make this pixel brush smaller, I deselected. So hopefully now it's just got that tiny little section. Part of the reason that it selected so much before is I had 40 pixels and now I've got 9. So it's a lot less of a selection, which is what I want. So if I do select similar, now it's getting everything that it's seeing as being really dark, and it's still not making much of a difference. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to check this minus button on the selection tool, and I'm going to zoom in, because what I can do is I can get rid of areas that I don't like. So I can go back in here and I can, oops, I went too far and I have to undo. So Command Z actually will undo things for you. And you do have to be careful, because if you go too far, all of a sudden Photoshop doesn't see it as a difference. So it's not seeing the difference right now for me, because I can see with my eyes, I can see this is much darker than some of the areas that are in here, but Photoshop's not seeing it. So I'm going to deselect that, and I'm going to try to go in there and change that photo a little bit so that I can see some differences. So let's see, I am going to make this darker and have, whoa, more contrast. Let's see, or maybe bright. Actually, I'm going to make it brighter, because now hopefully Photoshop will see the difference between this color and some of those other ones. So I just toggled the brightness and contrast back and forth a little bit differently. But here's the one caveat to what just happened. So while I was trying to do that, I used the quick adjustment tools in here. And the problem with doing that is Photoshop's not necessarily going to see this change because it sees this as a separate layer. So I'm going to delete that layer. I'm going to actually go back up under my image drop down menu, and I'm going to make it brighter like I did before and have a little bit, actually I'm going to leave the contrast where it is, and I'm just going to keep it really, really bright because I can see a big difference between where the really dark darks are and the medium tones. So now I'm going to take that selection tool, I'm on that same layer I just adjusted, and I'm going to select, say select similar, and now I can see it actually took a lot less of those colors. Now I'm actually going to make, and I'm going to select a black here. So I'm going to go down in here, and actually I'm going to make it a little bit like of a really, really deep purple. It's almost black, but it still has a little bit of purple into it. So then I'm going to go to a new layer, and I'm going to say purpley black, because I like to make up words sometimes. And then I'm going to go to edit, and I'm going to fill with the foreground color and say OK. Now though, I do have to make sure that I take that layer and I bring that layer to the top, because once I turn all these other layers on, if that purpley black layer is on the bottom, I actually don't see it. So I have to keep dragging that image up a layer, and I could tell right away that I needed to bring it all the way to the top. And now you can see there's a lot of contrast in my image. And I probably could get a little bit more in the stem of this glass over on this part, but it's much better. It was a kind of an easier way of getting those different colors in there. If using the brush tool is too difficult for you, that was a good way of using and adapting the tools in order to still come up with an image.